You're nervous to go back with the ball. And how many times do you hear, like you want the ball to transfer to the opposite side of the field, and you're saying to your players, send it back. And you hear parents in the stands saying, don't go back. You hear it all the time, don't you? I know, I love it when I'm at a game, a high school game, and I'm recruiting, and I hear parents say, no, don't go back, that's terrible. And I'm looking at them like, oh, actually it's great. It's a great thing to do, and really, really incorporate it into your game. At first, there will be turnovers in practice, and that's why you really practice it, because you want your team to get confidence, to gain confidence in controlling the ball in the backfield. So, a couple of things, positives. Let's first talk about straight ahead, going straight ahead. We talk in terms of going north-south, all right? There are positives when to go north-south. You just go straight ahead with the ball. That is when you are up numbers, when you're on a breakaway. You do not want to go lateral at that point. You want to go in a direct line to goal as fast as possible. This is your stuff, huh? Here you go, your pen. So there are advantages to going north-south, and there's a time and place for it, okay? The negatives about going north-south is when your lane is closed down, and you don't have an opportunity and you're trying to go through your opponent. Don't try to go through your opponent. There is not a need. You don't want to do it. So, what you try to then incorporate into your team is lateral ball movement, thinking, okay, let's change the point of attack. And so, say if I'm a right midfielder, okay, or a right back, what I want to start thinking of, if my lane is blocked and I don't have an option through, I don't need to force it. I now need to have the comfort level to go back and around and change the point of attack. That's where lateral ball movement comes into play. The positives of lateral ball movement. Okay? Changing the point of attack makes your opponent move and adjust. And they don't always make the right decisions of what lanes to cover. So, especially at the high school level, your opponent is then going to have to shift. The second that ball goes back, your opponent's shift to cover lanes. Is your opponent smart enough to cover the correct lanes? Maybe not. Maybe not. And this is when you can take advantage of them. So when you send the ball back, you're showing confidence. You're showing an air of confidence, even if it's fake at first. Even if your team doesn't yet believe, just force it. Force it to go back, make them do it. They will be really uncomfortable at first because they're nervous. And they've always been told, don't go back. But now start getting them in the mindset of going back, changing the point of attack, and figuring out what another option can be. So the second you go back, the main point of going back is to move the ball and to move their defense, the opponent. So then you want a quick transfer to the opposite side of the field and see what lanes are available there. And most likely, your opponent was all smothered over here, okay? And maybe one girl over there. But the second you move that ball back and over, you have a wide open lane on that off-ball side. And that's what you want to attack, okay? But keys to lateral ball movement. Moving it quickly. That is your number one thing. If you move the ball laterally and change the point of attack and transfer it, and you do it slowly, you've defeated the whole purpose. You can't do it slowly. So you move it as fast as you can. And with that means all your backfield and all your midfielders, the second you see changing the ball and transferring it, everybody needs to reposition. That is critical. All players, not just players one ball away, one pass away. Every player needs to reposition as soon as you see that ball moved. Okay? They also need to worry about the next step is their first touch on the ball. Okay, so if the ball is coming left to right, all right, and I've got my left back sending it back to the center back, okay, my first touch does not want to be that way. My first touch needs to be in the direction of where I'm going. Okay, does everybody understand that? So if I'm receiving the ball from somebody on the left side and it's coming back to me, okay, never stand square to that player. You always have to drop step, open up, let that ball come across your body, and now boom, there's my transfer. Right away. I do not want to look up and carry. Okay, that's not the time where my center back is carrying the ball. We want to transfer the ball and we want to get it moving as fast as we can. Okay, the second somebody hangs on to it too long, you've just defeated the purpose. There's a time for that as well, but not when we're trying to do a quick transfer. Okay, so your first touch has to be a clean touch and send the ball right away. So think about footwork, where you're touching that ball, and repositioning at all times. That next player has to be ready for a ball coming up their sideline on that right side. Okay, so they don't want to stand like this as a right back. They don't want to stand like this. They want to stand like this, opened up, so their lead leg is headed upfield. Their stick is going to be right here, and boom, there's their next sending of the ball. Okay, so these are tiny little details, however critical, and they can make your team that much better. They really can. So, positives of lateral ball movement: change the point attack, creates new opportunities. One major thing with transferring the ball in its lateral movement is that you want your field as wide and deep as you can make it. The wider you make your field, the harder it is to defend you. So do not pinch your backs. Get your backs. We are constantly saying to our backs, pull over, pull wider, 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 wider. You want to spread the field as wide as you can possibly make it. So get them all the way over there. Okay? These quick transitions make scoring opportunities happen. Okay? So you have to have your backfield confident. The negatives about lateral ball movement and transfers are the fear of turning the ball over. Because now who do you have in your backfield? You've got your goalie, and you just stuck your goal. So you have to develop the confidence in them. I remember playing against other D1 programs, and for the entire first half of the game, all they did was move the ball back and forth in the backfield. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to do this, like, go! And it was like they just were developing their confidence, is all it was. And then the second half, it was like, boom, then they went. But you need to develop the confidence out of your field. With all your players, all of them, because you don't want your forwards screaming at your back saying, send it up, and getting mad at them. All right? So, force your team to do this. Okay. Any questions on this so far? Yeah. I still want you to try it. The question was, we play on grass. Okay, obviously, a lot easier to accomplish on turf, on field turf. However, if you can build the confidence of your grass players to transfer the ball still, okay, they're going to be used to it. And obviously, you don't want to rip a ball that's going to go past the girl. That's going to be always a turnover. But I would still recommend you doing this. Because what you're going to do is your opponent is not going to be ready for it, and you're still going to open up major lanes of attack on the opposite side. That off-ball side is basically calling you, hurry up, get over here. So I would recommend it on grass as well. Okay? You got to take a risk with it, and that's what I recommend you doing. But practicing it a lot. It's part of like our daily warm-up, transferring the ball in the backfield. Okay? Anybody else have a question? Yeah. Great question. She said, we have trouble with deception, and it's basically their opponent was reading it before they were even going that way. So you do want to have an open position with your hips at all times, so you're not making it too obvious where you are going, okay? But you definitely need to add deception into it, but it's okay, because what happens if you do overplay it and say, like, I'm going back to